Welcome to this episode of Power of Profit Podcast. Today's guest is Suzanne Hanna, a mountain loving therapist, a coach, a writer, a shadow worker who's dedicated her life for helping others to find internal freedom. Her passion for transformation has led her on the extraordinary 1,000-mile solo hike across the U.S. wilderness with her golden retriever, Grace, a journey that sparked a profound change and inspired her to close her psychotherapy practice and build a roadmap for others to uncover their truth. Suzanne is deeply committed to guiding people through their own transformational process, helping them heal and live the life they truly desire. Whether she's hiking in the mountains or supporting others on the journey, Suzanne's work is all about awakening the potential and creating lasting freedom. Let's dive into this incredible story and powerful insights on this transformation.
Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carter hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
Suzanne, thank you so much for being here. So kind of share with everyone what you do. I think your journey is interesting and very powerful. So what do you do and how do you help our community?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, as you know, being an entrepreneur, my journey has evolved quite a bit over the past 30 years since I've started this. And right now, my biggest passion is helping people to really get to their truth and experience internal freedom. I feel that for many of us, and I hear this from people all the time, is they're like, I don't really know what my truth is. I don't even really fully know who I am. And for those who are anywhere near the midlife journey, that comes in a big way again. We go through a whole other identity crisis in midlife, and it's a completely new type of initiation. But one of the things that I share with people is that we actually do know who we are. We do know our truth, but we have been spending so many years out of alignment. And what ends up happening is that I believe that the universe is brilliant at trying to get us back into alignment, but we ignore those calls because it calls us to do hard things. And so what we very often do is we spend most of our time out of alignment, and we're sort of in that place of struggle, and we feel stuck and we feel unfulfilled. We don't feel aligned with what we truly want to do or who we truly want to be. And so my job is to kind of help people get back into alignment so that they can start to experience life in a very different way. Doesn't mean that difficult things don't happen, but we approach those things very, very differently when we're in alignment. And I want to say that it also allows who we were truly meant to be more in a state of flow, more in a state of fulfillment, more in a state of joy, more in a state of success. And so I think once people can really discern the difference, it really only takes sometimes one decision or one choice to get back into alignment.
I love that because there is like this, when I moved up here, we were talking, before we started, there was this unsettling, like, I don't want to do what I've always done. I don't want to be in that grind. I don't want to, and that's been the hardest shift in this season of slowing down and deciding what's the next.
Yes.
And it's been about 2 years of me just really slowing down, and it's so hard to get unaddicted to that grind, right?
Yes.
So how do you unplug that?
Yeah.
Right. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the things, so I do shadow work, which some people may know what that is, and other people may not know what it is. But basically, it is in a very succinct way, it is really confronting all of the things we've spent a lifetime running from, hiding, dismissing, denying, in order to get back into alignment and to connect with our deeper truth. And here's the crazy part about it is we can be in alignment in one area of our life, but out of alignment in other areas of our life. And I always say that that happens frequently for people because, hey, I can be super successful. I can be doing great in my business, but my marriage is falling apart,
Right.
or I'm not happy in my relationship, or we could be in a beautiful, loving relationship, but we're out of alignment in our physical. So we're struggling with health issues and all of these other things. And so it really is important to see that there's multiple levels of this. It's not just one area of our lives.
I feel like I'm like, okay, she's busting us, you guys. She's busting us, which is great. So you did something crazy, right? Crazy
Uh,
good, right? You did a
yeah.
1,000-mile hike across the US in
Yeah.
the wilderness, and that was such a bold move, right? What inspired you to take that journey? And then what was the biggest challenge? I can only imagine. So I'm so excited. I kind of got chills when I just asked.
Well, a lot of people say this to me. They're like, oh my God, how did you do that? How did you? Because I was in business for myself at the time. I was a very successful psychotherapist in New York. And it was interesting. I'll tell a brief little story, but I was sitting in my office one day and I was staring out the window and I just knew intuitively that I had outgrown those four walls, that I
Yes,
could not sit in a chair for 8 to 10 hours a day, listening to a lot of very, very, because I was a trauma specialist, so dealing with a lot of very painful stories, difficult stories. And I just felt like I was really shrinking. And at the same time, I was in a very emotionally abusive and unhealthy relationship.
right,
And talk about being out of alignment. I mean, I was
right.
going into my office every day, sharing with people how to get out of traumatic situations, and I was living in a traumatic situation.
Mm,
And this isn't very uncommon for a lot of people. And I felt like a fraud. I felt like I was in a situation where I didn't feel like I had the authority or the ability to be able to speak to what I was speaking to. And so I had made a decision. The other thing that I think is important to know is I had been in relationship since I was 18 years old, and I was now around 39 years old at that time.
right,
I'd gone from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship. I was in a marriage. And what I came to realize is that I did all of that in order to avoid being alone. I did
right.
not want to be alone. It was one of my greatest fears. And I knew that if I didn't face this head on, that this pattern was just going to continue and continue and continue. And so I did something pretty radical, which was I immersed myself in solitude 10 to 12 hours a day in the vast wilderness of the United States with no one around. I didn't connect to my cell phone, anything other than emergencies. And I really faced everything I had spent a lifetime running from head on, all of my shame, my fear, my anger, resentment, my doubt, all of it. And it was a very, very awakening experience and one that really changed the course of my life.
How long did that hike take you?
So because I had a business and I had a job, I couldn't do it all at once. So I did it over the course of 3 years. And what I did was I would do about 6 to 8 weeks at a time. So I did 6 to 8 weeks in the Northeast, then the South, then the West, and each journey kind of built on the previous journey. So it was a potent and powerful experience. I kept a blog throughout the whole thing in a journal and everything that unfolded. And then towards the end, and this is what I mean by alignment, as I became to become more aligned with my truth and what was real for me, I was divinely guided to go out and create what I have created now, which is I have a brand called the Wilderness Walk, which is really all about navigating the inner wilderness. And I do it for everybody from stay-at-home moms to CEOs of companies, and really helping people to get back into alignment.
So let's talk a little bit more about the shadow work, because I think some people know it, some people don't know it, some people have heard of it. So let's talk a little bit about it. Like, how do you define it? And then how did the journey help you in your own personal journey?
Great. So as I said before, it's really about everything we spend a lifetime running from. But there's two components to the shadow that most people don't know about. There's a dark side to the shadow, which encompasses all of our fear and our shame and our doubt and our resentments and our anger and all of the things that we have not sort of suppressed over the years, that we don't, all the traumas, all of that. And then there's a light side to the shadow, which we call the golden shadow, which most people don't understand, which is all the ways that we dismiss and deny our wisdom, our truth, our power, our success. Because if you think about it, from a very young age, we have been told certain messages like don't be too big for your britches, don't outshine people, that's being too full of yourself, all of that. And so all of this stuff gets suppressed and repressed. And so what shadow work does is basically takes everything that's in the unconscious and makes it conscious, because we can't heal or shift or change what we're unwilling to acknowledge. So if we're not even aware of it, then we can't do anything about it.
Right. And so talk about grace, right? And how
Don't make me cry.
Grace played a role in your healing journey. And Grace is the golden retriever.
Yeah.
So how
So
did go
yeah,
ahead.
so I hiked 1,000 miles across the country, but I wasn't fully alone. I had my golden retriever Grace with me, which there's a whole long story about how she synchronistically came into my life and all of that, which I won't get into because that would take all the time. But, I believe for anyone who's an animal lover will know this. I believe that there are certain animals that are brought into our lives for a divine purpose. And she was definitely one of those animals for me. She was a teacher, she was a guide. One of the things that I said that was one of the things that sparked this journey was I was out on a hike with her one day and I was watching her leap through these fields of wildflowers. And she was so free and exuberant and so in the moment. And I said, that is how I want to live. I want to live exactly that way. And through the journey, she mirrored so many things for me. And she is now gone. Grace passed away 5 years ago.
You're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Overwhelmed by the complexity of business profit strategies? Jump aboard the Bullet Train to Big Profits course, a streamlined solution by Dr. Susie Carter. This course is designed to uncomplicate the path to profitability. Imagine being able to identify and execute profit strategies with ease, skyrocketing your revenues. Visit course.poweryourprofits.com and sign up for the Bullet Train to Big Profits course today. Are you tired of struggling to take your business to the next level? Power Your Profits is the game-changing book you've been waiting for. Dr. Susie Carter, creator of the Predictable Success Method, reveals her proven strategies for explosive growth. From daily operations to marketing systems, this comprehensive guide empowers you to achieve predictable revenue and profit growth. Don't miss out on this invaluable wisdom. Transform your business today. Find your copy at books.poweryourprofits.com.
And was one of the most hardest things for me to release the physicality of her, but she really, really left a complete imprint on my journey, what I do, who I am, and yeah, and for those people out there who have those kinds of animals in their lives, they will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've learned, right? So I've always had animals, but this dog we have now, Dozer, she's a big old Rottweiler. Love her. Like I've never saw their personalities. People go, they have such personalities. I'm like, it's a dog, right?
Yeah.
So now seeing their personality and the love and the, when I'm gone, she sleeps on the bed that I get ready in my guest room because my closets aren't big enough in my master room. So I got all the other closets. She sleeps on that bed and just like, where's mom? It's so sweet. Like, oh, okay. So connected. So I get it now. It took me many years to get it, but I get it now.
Yeah.
The love
I mean,
of
to me, they're, because they don't have egos and everything else, to me, they're the embodiment of spirit. They are truly unconditional love in fur. You
right.
know? So it really for me and for her particularly, because I think she was really a very special animal, she was able to really support me in this process in a way that was very unique.
When you
Very,
have to be open, right? So you were in a different space of, versus me, I was open all of a sudden there, it's a dog, whatever. Versus being open to that curiosity of not being in the grind. Like if when you're doing patient after patient after patient after patient, you get home, you're just like, I'm done now. No more words. Again.
yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure.
uh,
Yes.
so you said that witnessing somebody's awakening is a magical for you. Can you share a powerful story that you saw a client truly transform?
Oh, yeah. Well, so now one of the things that I do is I lead wilderness walk journeys. So I have done them now all over the world. And I lead small groups of people into this really potent and powerful transformative process. And it is something that you can't even put into words when you witness someone breaking open. And it's almost like witnessing that exterior shell sort of falls away, and you actually see the true essence of a person come forward. And there is this ability to see them awaken to all of the things that they were unaware of for so long. And there's this lightness of being that
Yeah.
really happens that comes through. And there's this sense of just almost like I can't even explain it, but it's almost like they come back into their body and it's like they're home again.
Mm.
And it is so powerful to watch and to witness, and then to witness also the evolution that happens from that place. Everything in their life shifts. Everything that hasn't been serving them falls away. Everything that they feel called to comes into alignment. And it's just a really beautiful thing to watch. And that's where you can see the freedom. And people ask me all the time, what is internal freedom? What does that actually mean? And to me, what internal freedom is that you are in a place of acceptance of all aspects of who you are, both shadow and light, and that you are in alignment with your deeper truth. And you live that in every aspect of your life. You live it professionally, personally, spiritually, in every aspect of your life. That's freedom. There's nothing to run from, there's nothing to hide.
Right. So you have three booked right now for next year. You're going to France,
Yes.
right? And Lake Tahoe and Spain. So talk about, because it's very cost effective, right? When you look at well, if I'm your coach, I'm like, it's very cost effective. How much profit are you making? Let's talk about that, but that's another call. So talk about,
Yeah.
because it is what you say 7 nights, right? And
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the detail because it's you're doing ceremonies. Talk a little bit about that, what that experience is. I know you did, but just looking at the whole experience, because I think people are afraid. They're afraid to look at that when you say shadow work, like, I don't want to see that side of it, but it sounds like you said magical. It sounds like a place where you can just reclaim who you are, remember who you are.
For sure. And if you think about how much energy we expend every single day in the process of suppressing and repressing, imagine what you could do with that energy if you were no longer doing that. So basically, I do a golden shadow journey, which is, as I was saying before, really getting in touch with all the ways that we've dismissed our wisdom, our power, our truth, our light, our purpose, our gifts, all of that. And then I do a dark shadow journey, which is really excavating all of the things we've suppressed around the things we feel shame about, doubt, any types of traumas, all of that kind of stuff. But what these journeys are about is that there's a virtual component to these journeys, and then there's an in-person component to it. And they're both equally vital. And you really need to remove people from their environment to be able to really get into. So there's no distractions. There's no, I'm caught up in compartmentalization or my busyness. You're really focused on this sole purpose. And what I tell people, it's like if you've been in and out of coaching therapy, this is like therapy on steroids. You're doing it in a short period of time, so it's not a huge time commitment, and yet the results are life-changing, truly
Right.
life-changing.
I love it.
Mhm.
So let's talk about how do people play with you? Like you talked about this journey. So talk about how they play with you and how they work with you.
So yeah, so I do usually 2 to 3 journeys a year. I'm also in the process of finishing my first book, which I'm very excited about. That's coming out yay, coming out this fall. But I also recently, about 5 years ago, I started training and certifying coaches. So I also train and certify shadow coaches, and many of that I've done it for everything from people in corporate all the way to therapists, other types of coaches. And I've started actually doing a lot more corporate work because if you think about all of the ways that certain corporations may be misaligned, right? And how, if you think about the trickle down effect of CEOs and leaders who are misaligned and how that impacts the business, how it impacts their team, their staff. So I've also now started training people and doing this work on very different levels. And I love it because what is happening is that people are bringing conversations to people and into businesses that hasn't really happened in this way before. And so there's a level of truth and transparency and a level of alignment that begins to happen in organizations that start to bring forth a lot of things that have not been said, not been talked about, not been dealt with. And so now I've been starting to do that over the last 5 years, and I love that because this is a skill and a tool that can help people on multiple levels.
Right. So when the book, so is the book, talk about the book a little bit and what does it highlight? I always say that, the hard part is writing the book and then you give birth and then that's a whole nother hard part.
I might be calling you about this. Um, Yeah, so I've been in the process of writing the book for several years, and it's a hybrid. It's a part personal story, memoir of my personal story, but it is also a teaching around there's 9 levels, and it's sort of based on a hero's journey, but it's really about how do we actually navigate the wilderness within? How do
Yeah.
we go about this? How do we look at the things that we have been running from, avoiding, and how do we begin to bring those things to surface? And how do we face the fears and all of the things that arise that keep us stagnant, that keep us stuck, that keep us out of alignment? And so it's sort of like I take people on a journey with me and I help facilitate through my own personal journey, but also through lots of tools and wisdom and things that I've learned over the years to help people do this for themselves as well.
I love that. That's juicy. And when is the published date?
So the book will be on shelves. We're looking right now around somewhere the first 2 weeks of October.
That's very exciting. A book is such a birthing of, beliefs and new insights and wisdom. I'm so proud of you, right? There's so many people that want to write a book and don't write a book. So it's a huge accomplishment. From another sister of, I've written 10
10
and
books?
10, 10.
Holy moly.
The
Wow.
last one was
I,
published by Simon and Schuster.
that's
Been
amazing.
quite the journey of, oh, I see how it works.
Yeah, and I say to people, writing a book is a wilderness walk all in of itself because it brings up so many things when you're in the process of writing. And one of the things that I think that is so potent and powerful about what a book teaches is the ability to stand behind what you believe and to
Yeah.
stand behind your truth. And, we all talk about the mountaintop message, but it really calls you to really stand in it and embody it in a way that's very different because, this, you have people who come and want to learn from you and they want to work with you and all of that. But when you put a book into the world, there are a lot of people who read that you will never see, that you will
Yes.
never come in contact. So it is a little bit about, bearing your soul in all different kinds of ways, both from the people you do see and the people you don't see.
Well, I'm that legacy builder of what
Yeah.
legacy am I leaving behind for my students, my family, my community. So, what's next and what's your next journey for you? And what new adventures do you have?
Well, it's interesting because I believe our journeys are ever evolving. I tell people it's an evolution, and I'm in a place in my life. It's funny that you just talked about legacy. So I am going to be 58 this year. And one of the things that I've really talked about with my team and talked about with many of the people close to me is what really matters to me.
Right.
What do I want to leave behind? If people, remember me, what do I want to be remembered for? And I believe that a big part of this stage of life is really about planting the seeds that will
Yeah.
harvest even long after I'm gone, which is one of the reasons why I started the training and the facilitation and the certification, because I want people to be doing this work long after I've left this planet. And so for me, the next 10 years is really about focusing on what really matters and what's important to me and what, I say to people, what would you die for? I mean, this work is something that I believe so wholeheartedly is so important that that it's something that I would die for.
That's pretty powerful, my friend.
Mm,
So, as we wrap this incredible conversation with Suzanne, it's clear that your journey to the internal freedom requires courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to face the parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding. Suzanne, your story has been powerful, and it's a powerful reminder of the true transformation that can happen when we step outside of our comfort zones. And I love that the wilderness retreats will allow you to uncover the essence of who you are in this new journey. So, whether you're beginning your journey or you're
mhm,
deep in the process, remember that the path to healing and freedom is always available to us.
mhm.
Thank you, Suzanne, for sharing your wisdom, your light, your inspiration, and that you're willing to support us to live a radically free life. We value, we appreciate you. So if you know someone that needs this message, and I know a ton of people that need this message, girl, while you were on, I'm clicking that retreat, texting to my girlfriend because we're like, hey, let's do a girl trip this year. And I'm like, hey, let's do this girl trip this year. So I love that when something just speaks to you so radically that you're like, can you do this with me? Can you come along? Can you play? So thank you for being the sister in the journey.
Thank you, and thank you so much for what you do. And I do want to say that one of the things that I love about what I've seen in your work is a lot of times there's this compartmentalization between who we are and what we do.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you bridge those two things. And that means so much because you can't separate who you are and what you do effectively and
Right.
sustainably. So thank you for doing what you do as well. And we
Yeah,
need a lot more leaders in this world who can stand behind their truth.
exactly. So together, dynamic duo, girl, dynamic duo. Thank you for being our guest. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for being here. We value you and we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
As we wrap this incredible conversation with Suzanne Hanna, it's clear that the journey to internal freedom requires courage, vulnerability, and the willingness to face the parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding. Suzanne's journey and story is a powerful reminder that true transformation happens when we step outside of our comfort zone and embrace the unknown, whether we're just beginning our journey or we're deep in the process. Remember, the path to healing and freedom is always available to you. Thank you, Suzanne, for sharing your wisdom and for inspiring us all to seek out our own version of a life that makes us radically alive.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.